Deep inside the Crimson Volcano, on the highest peak of the Firehorn Mountains, lived a dragon named Iggy. Now, Iggy was not your ordinary dragon. While all the other dragons in the mountain loved to breathe fire at rocks, race through thunderclouds, and roar so loudly that it shook the pine trees off the hillside, Iggy had one very different, very special, and very strange dream. He wanted to taste ice cream. Yes, ice cream. The cold, sweet, creamy, colorful, swirly, sprinkled, delicious dessert that the humans in the valley below loved so much. Every evening, Iggy would sit on the edge of the volcano with his big golden eyes and watch the tiny village of Sweetbrook far, far below. He could see the little lights of the ice cream shop, Bella's Scoop Palace, glowing like a cheerful rainbow lantern. He could see children skipping and laughing with cones in their hands. He could smell, even from way up high, the faint, magical whiff of strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla drifting upward on the warm summer breeze. Oh, how I wish I could try just one tiny lick, Iggy sighed, sending a little puff of smoke from his nostrils. But there was one very big problem. Every time a dragon came near the villagers screamed and ran away. They had never met a friendly dragon before. They did not know that Iggy only wanted to make friends, and maybe, just maybe, enjoy a scoop of ice cream. Iggy's mother, the grand and fiery dragon queen Rora, laughed when he told her about his dream. Ice cream? She roared, and her laugh sounded like thunder inside the volcano. Dragons don't eat cold things, Iggy. We eat flames and hot peppers and volcano rocks roasted at 1,000 degrees. Ice cream would melt before it even touched your tongue. But Iggy wasn't so sure. He had a feeling, right there in his scaly chest, next to his fire-breathing heart, that this was not true. He had a feeling that somewhere, somehow, there was a way to make his dream come true. And so, one bright morning in the middle of summer, when the mountains were gold and the sky was as blue as a blueberry scoop, Iggy made up his mind. He folded his wings tight, took a deep breath of smoky air, and said to himself, "Today, I am going to find that ice cream shop." Did you know? Iggy was only 47 years old, which for a dragon is just like being 7 years old for a human child. He spread his enormous purple wings, wide as a school bus, and leaped off the edge of the volcano into the bright summer sky. The wind sang around his ears. The valley rushed up toward him. The adventure had begun. Iggy flew lower and lower, gliding over green fields of sunflowers and little farms with red roofs. He tried his absolute best to look as friendly and harmless as possible. He kept his fire tucked carefully inside. He even tried smiling, though on a dragon, a smile looks a lot like showing all 57 of your very sharp teeth, which is not very reassuring. He landed on the cobblestone road right at the entrance of Sweetbrook Village with a tremendous thud that shook the ground and rattled every window in every house. For 1 second, everything was perfectly quiet. Then, absolute chaos. "Dragon!" screamed a woman carrying a basket of apples. She dropped every single apple, and they went rolling down the street like bouncy red bowling balls. "Run for your lives!" hollered the baker, who was so frightened he accidentally threw his entire tray of fresh bread rolls into the air. The rolls rained down on the street like fluffy little meteors. Within 30 seconds, the entire village square, which had been full of busy, cheerful people just a moment ago, was completely empty. Doors slammed. Windows banged shut. The village was as quiet as a library at midnight. Iggy stood alone in the middle of the empty square, looking very large and very out of place. His tail accidentally knocked over a flower cart, and petals scattered everywhere like pink snow. "Oh dear," Iggy said, in a voice that was surprisingly soft and gentle for such a big creature. "I'm sorry about the flower cart. And those apples. I only wanted to." Nobody was listening. Everyone was hiding behind their doors and peeking through shuttered windows with terrified eyes. All except for one person. A small girl with 2 big red pigtails, muddy boots, and absolutely zero fear walked right out of the bakery, crossed her arms, and looked up at Iggy with very serious brown eyes. She was not much bigger than one of Iggy's claws. "Are you going to eat us?" she asked, in a very businesslike sort of tone. Iggy blinked. "What? No. Of course not. I wanted ice cream. From Bella's Scoop Palace. I've been watching the lights of it from the volcano for 3 whole years and I've been dreaming about it ever since. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I do that when I'm nervous. My name is Iggy. What's your name?" The girl stared at him for a long moment. Then the corner of her mouth curled into a smile. "I'm Lily," she said. And I like ice cream too. Come on, but please try not to step on anything else. Brave fact. Lily was 8 years old and had once chased away 3 older boys who were being mean to her cat. She was not easily scared. Bella's Scoop Palace was the most wonderful shop in the whole village, and possibly in the whole world. It had big windows painted with swirling ice cream cones in every color. A cheerful little bell jingled above the door. The walls inside were painted the color of mint chocolate chip, and every shelf was filled with jars of toppings: rainbow sprinkles, chocolate chips, crushed waffle pieces, gummy stars, golden caramel sauce, and bright red cherries. But most importantly, behind the long glass counter, there were 32 enormous tubs of ice cream, each one a different magical flavor. Iggy pressed his enormous face against the window. His golden eyes went wide. His nostrils flared. The scent hit him like a wave, sweet, cold, creamy, and absolutely magical. Oh, he breathed, fogging up the entire window with one warm puff from his nose. Oh, this is even better than I imagined. Behind the counter stood Bella herself, a round-cheeked woman with silver hair and a very large ladle. She had not run away with the rest of the villagers. Instead, she stood with her hands on her hips, watching Iggy through the glass with curious eyes. Lily pushed open the door and held it wide. "Come in," she said to Iggy. Iggy looked at the door. The door was approximately the size of his ear. "I don't think I'll fit," he said sadly. Bella tapped her chin thoughtfully, then disappeared into the back of the shop. There was a great deal of banging and clanging and scraping. Then the entire wall beside the door, which turned out to be a special folding panel that Bella had built years ago for exactly the possibility of a very large customer, swung open wide. "I always thought someday I'd need it," Bella said cheerfully. "A good shopkeeper prepares for everything. Now then, what flavor would you like, dear dragon?" Iggy stepped inside very, very carefully, ducking under the ceiling fan and folding his tail neatly behind him. His wings brushed the walls on both sides. But he was in. He was really, truly in Bella's Scoop Palace. He looked at the 32 flavors. His eyes traveled slowly from one end of the counter to the other. Vanilla bean, triple chocolate fudge, raspberry swirl, mango tango, peanut butter dream,
lemon zeste surprise,
cookie dough crunch, blueberry cloud, honeycomb meadow, strawberry sunrise. I don't know," Iggy whispered. "They all sound so wonderful. I've never had any of them. Not a single one. Ever." Lily climbed up on the counter stool next to him and peered at the flavors alongside him. "Start with the rainbow one," she advised seriously. "It's called Dragon's Dream Swirl. Bella invented it herself." Iggy looked at a tub of ice cream that was swirled with every color imaginable: pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple, all twisted together like a beautiful edible rainbow. He felt his fire-breathing heart do a little flip inside his chest. Fun fact: Bella had actually invented Dragon's Dream Swirl 12 years ago, after dreaming about a friendly purple dragon. She had never known why. "Dragon's Dream Swirl," Iggy repeated softly. "I'll have that one, please. A very large scoop, if you don't mind." Bella smiled and picked up the biggest scoop in the shop. Bella scooped an enormous ball of Dragon's Dream Swirl ice cream, the size of a basketball, which was small by dragon standards but enormous by any other standard, and placed it in the biggest cone in the shop. Then she added another scoop, and another, stacking them high and steady, and finished with a mountain of rainbow sprinkles, a drizzle of golden caramel, 3 bright red cherries, and a sparkly star-shaped wafer that caught the light like a tiny disco ball. She held it up to Iggy with both arms. Iggy took it very gently. The whole cone balanced delicately between the tip of one enormous purple claw and his thumb. He stared at it for a long, quiet moment. The ice cream glittered. The cherries gleamed. The sprinkles sparkled. It was, without a doubt, the most beautiful thing Iggy had ever seen in his 47 years of life on the volcano. He leaned forward. He opened his mouth, very, very gently, not even a wisp of fire, and he took the tiniest, most careful, most delicate lick. The world stopped. It was cold. It was sweet. It was creamy and fruity and chocolatey and vanilla-y all at once. It was like tasting a rainbow. It was like the first ray of sunshine after a whole month of rain. It was like every good feeling Iggy had ever had, all rolled into one perfect, cold, swirly, magical bite. Iggy sat completely still for 5 whole seconds. Then, Very slowly, 2 enormous glittery tears rolled down his scaly purple cheeks. But he was not sad. He was the happiest dragon in the entire world. He started. He stopped. He started again. It's the most wonderful thing I have ever tasted in my entire dragon life, he said, his voice very full and a little wobbly. Lily patted his enormous claw the way she sometimes patted her dog at home. I know, she said kindly. Ice cream does that. Bella watched from behind the counter with shining eyes and a very wide smile. She had been making ice cream for 40 years, and she had seen many people enjoy her creations, but she had never seen anyone love ice cream quite like this dragon did. It filled her heart all the way up to the top. Iggy ate the whole cone in 7 happy, careful licks. Then he looked at the counter and said, very politely, "May I please have another? I think I'd like to try the strawberry sunrise this time. And perhaps after that, the triple chocolate fudge, if that's all right." "You can try every single flavor," Bella said firmly. "On the house." And so he did. By the time Iggy reached flavor number 12, a spectacular toasted marshmallow swirl, something extraordinary began to happen outside Bella's Scoop Palace. One by one, very quietly, the villagers began creeping out of their houses. First just a few brave ones peeked around their doors. Then a few more shuffled slowly into the square. Then children came running, because children are always braver than grown-ups about these things. They gathered outside the open wall panel and stared inside at the enormous purple dragon sitting very carefully in Bella's shop, licking ice cream with absolute joy and wonder on his face, while a small red pigtailed girl sat beside him, chatting away like they had been best friends for years. Happy fact. By the end of that afternoon, Iggy had tried 18 flavors. His absolute favorites were Dragon's Dream Swirl, number 1, Honey Lavender, number 7, and Spicy Cinnamon Kick, number 14, which was the only one that didn't melt on his warm tongue. Over the next few weeks, Iggy visited Bella's Scoop Palace every single day. He learned to land very softly at the edge of the village so as not to scare anyone. He learned to tuck his tail in a neat coil when he sat on the cobblestones outside the shop. He learned that if he breathed very, very gently, he could make his smoke come out in the shapes of ice cream cones and little stars, which made the children laugh and clap their hands with delight. The villagers grew used to him, and more than that, they grew to love him. Old Mr. Grumbleton the farmer, who had refused to leave his house for the first 3 days after Iggy arrived, now brought the dragon fresh strawberries from his garden every morning to go on his ice cream. Mrs. Poppins the librarian started leaving dragon-sized books of adventure stories outside the shop for Iggy to read while he waited. The children drew pictures of him and taped them to the windows of Bella's Scoop Palace, purple dragons holding rainbow ice cream cones, every single one of them smiling. But then, one day in late summer, a terrible problem arrived. Iggy came gliding down from the mountain as usual, happy and humming a little dragon song, but when he turned the corner toward Bella's Scoop Palace, he stopped dead. The shop was dark. The colorful windows were not glowing. The cheerful little bell above the door was not jingling. A small hand-written note was taped to the door. Lily was standing in front of it, reading it with a very worried expression. "What happened?" Iggy asked, landing so carefully that only a few cobblestones wobbled. Lily read the note aloud. "Dear friends, I am so sorry. The ice cream machine is completely broken and cannot be fixed. Without it, I cannot make any ice cream at all. I have tried everything. It seems Bella's Scoop Palace may have to close forever. With a very heavy heart, Bella." Iggy stared at the note. Then he stared at the dark shop. Then he stared at the ground for a long, long moment. "Close forever," he repeated, very quietly. "The machine has been running for 40 years, Lily said sadly. "Nobody in the village can fix it. Bella looked everywhere for a repair person, but nobody knows how these old machines work anymore." Iggy thought for a moment. He thought about the dragon's dream swirl and how it had made him cry with happiness. He thought about all the children with their cones and all the villagers who came in on hot afternoons and all of Bella's beautiful 32 flavors. He thought about Bella herself, who had opened her shop to a dragon without a single moment of fear, and who had given him 27 free scoops on his very first day. He could not let this happen. "May I see the machine?" he asked. Lily frowned. "You want to fix it? Iggy, you're a dragon. You don't know anything about ice cream machines." Iggy smiled, his wide, 57-teeth smile that looked a lot like a roar but wasn't. "No," he said. "But I know about fire. And I have an idea. Cool fact. The original ice cream churning machines from 100 years ago used a special combination of fire, cold, and spinning. Not so different from dragon magic at all. Ella led Iggy around to the back of the shop, where the great ice cream machine stood, enormous, brass-colored, covered with dials and levers and pipes and gears, like a magnificent old steam engine that had dreamed of becoming a kitchen appliance. It had been broken for a week, and it sat silent and cold where it had always rumbled and spun and churned with proud, steady energy. Iggy walked around it slowly, looking at every part with his big golden eyes. He pressed his ear against it, and listened. A true dragon has a very special relationship with heat and cold and the movement of fire through enclosed spaces. Iggy could hear things inside machines the way a doctor hears things inside a person, the ticks and groans and spaces where something was missing. There, he said at last, pointing one careful claw at a small pipe near the bottom of the machine. The heating coil is cracked. The machine needs a steady, precise source of heat, not too much, not too little, to start the churning process. Without it, nothing spins. Bella peered at the pipe and nodded slowly. That's exactly what the repair manual said. But I couldn't find any heat source steady or precise enough to. She stopped. She looked up at Iggy. Her eyes went very wide. Oh, she said. Iggy nodded. I have very good fire control, he said modestly. I've been practicing for 47 years. For the next hour, Iggy crouched behind the ice cream machine, very carefully, wings tucked in, tail coiled, tongue held just so, and breathed the most precise, the most gentle, the most perfectly calibrated stream of warm fire through the cracked heating coil. Not too hot, not too cool. Steady as a heartbeat. Warm as a summer afternoon. And slowly, gloriously, the great machine rumbled. Then it groaned. Then it roared to life, spinning and churning and humming like a dream, filling the whole back room with the most wonderful noise and the most magical smell. Bella burst into tears of joy. Lily jumped up and down so hard her pigtails flew. Iggy sat back on his heels and let out a long, relieved breath that came out as a small cloud of very happy smoke in the shape of an ice cream cone. Within an hour, the first new batches of ice cream were ready. Bella threw open the folding panel wall and the doors of Bella's Scoop Palace, and every single person in Sweetbrook came rushing in, laughing and cheering. The shop had never been so full, so bright, so joyful. Bella made Iggy the largest, most spectacular ice cream creation ever attempted, a towering, magnificent, completely impossible-looking construction of all 32 flavors stacked together, swirled with every topping on every shelf, crowned with an entire box of sparkly star wafers, and, at the very top, a single perfect cherry. She called it the Iggy Special. It's on the menu now, Bella announced to the whole village, pointing to where she had written it in bright pink chalk on the big board above the counter. Permanently. For as long as this shop stands. The village cheered. Iggy made the most perfect ice cream cone smoke ring they had ever seen drift up into the blue summer sky. From that day forward, Iggy was not just a visitor to Sweetbrook, he was part of it. The village built him a special landing spot at the edge of the square, painted with purple dragon footprints. Bella reserved a spot at the counter for him every single day at 3 o'clock. And every afternoon, without fail, Iggy the dragon came gliding down from the Firehorn Mountains. Not for fire, not for glory, not for the roaring adventures that dragons in stories usually have, but for something far simpler and far sweeter. And every evening, when the sun turned the mountains pink and gold, Iggy flew slowly home with a full and very happy heart, carrying the lingering sweetness of ice cream on his tongue and the warmth of friendship in his chest, which, for a dragon, is the most magical fire of all.